Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Welcome back to Big Mouth. You can continue this conversation over on my Twitter, which was formerly Smallville Mad, which is now at Movies TV Mad. So join me on there a little bit later on after you see this video. So welcome to episode 9 of Smallville, the Saviour as Superman. And today we talk about my favourite Smallville episodes. Now, in thinking about my favourite Smallville episodes, I have to think really deeply because there's so many amazing Smallville episodes. In truth, even the ones I don't care for as much as others are still really good episodes. And there's always a Lex and Lionel nugget or a Tess nugget or something going on quite deep. There was always deep cuts in Smallville episode. But when I think of great episodes, the first one I ever think about is Rosetta and the introduction of the late, great Christopher Reeve, who of course played Superman in Superman movies, Superman 2, Superman 3 and Superman 4. His guest appearance as Dr. Virgil Swan in Smallville and his debut in Rosetta. Rosetta isn't just about Christopher Reeve's appearance. I remember before watching this episode, my palms were sweaty, I was very excited. I was binging season 2 back then. I'd missed it on TV, so I bought the DVD box set. Yeah, back then I used to buy DVDs, but I've still got the DVD box sets because you can't get the early seasons on Blu-ray, Warner Brothers. Deal with it. Anyway, so I knew that Chris was going to be in this episode. And so the whole season was about Clark discovering his Kryptonian heritage and, discovering the Kawatche Caves. It was a brilliant, intriguing season. Very few TV shows, take such a gamble as to move the story on so brilliantly and so quickly. And that's, without Smallville Season 2, there is no Smallville 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. It's your second season that gives you the platform to go on or basically get you cancelled. And what Al Miles did with Season 2 is move it on. Clark discovering his Kryptonian heritage was really important because if Season 2 was exactly the same as Season 1, Smallville wouldn't have continued and people would have left in their droves. I think how they handled all the characters and Clark's journey and Lex's story was freaking amazing. So I'm going to put Rosetta on, and not now, but because of copyright stuff, but for the first time when I put it on, I remember putting it on, and a brilliant first scene of like someone's flying, but you can't see them. You see someone in the clouds. Ultimately, Clark's flying, but you don't see that on screen. Lex nearly runs him over because he's laying on the ground in the middle of the road. And this is when this episode first begins. He's kind of going to the Kawatche Caves. He's taking the disc. He's putting it in the wall. And at first, in the opening of this episode, he's actually dreaming about doing that. And, Jonathan says, nobody actually knows what would happen if you do that, Clark. You can't do it. But, of course, Clark doesn't listen. He's got the drug now. He's not a literal drug, but he's desperate, like any adopted child, to find out where he belongs, where he comes from. He loves Jonathan and Martha. He doesn't want to betray them. He doesn't want to hurt them. But he's desperate now. This is not just any adopted kid. This is Cal. This is Kal-El, the last son of Krypton. He wants to know what it's all about. What's the spaceship about? What does it mean? So he does, and this is amazing. So ultimately, he gets an email from Dr. Swan, played by Christopher Reeve, and he goes to the New York, what's it called, the astronomical place where it is. So brilliant. Now, the whole thing is so iconic. So Clark walks in and he goes, "Hello, Clark. I've been expecting you." And then it slowly zooms in on Chris, and it's a brilliant piece of directing, by the way. It really was. And then they have this conversation, and Clark finds out for the first time that his planet's called Krypton. And the way they wrote it, when Dr. Swan says to him, it's not there anymore. And Clark's just so devastated by that. And the dialogue for Christopher Reeve's Virgil Swan, the dialogue for Clark, I must say, at that time, that was probably Tom Welling's best performance. I think in that scene, he grew up as an artist and an actor. I really do. It was fabulous. That really changed everything. The show was awesome before that. But that first episode with Dr. Virgil Swan, with Christopher Reeve, I think not only did it bring a lot more people, a lot more Superman fans to the show, it changed everything. And that is one of my favourite episodes. I'll never forget that episode. And as soon as I watched it, I didn't go to the next episode. I watched that episode again, and again. And when I'd had enough of all the other scenes, right, because there was a subplot with Chloe and Lana and family trees and things like that, which was very sweet and everything. But of course, I think we were all more excited about Chris Reeve. So then, once I'd had enough of the episode, I'd rewatch the Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling scenes. Look, no show, no DC show has reached that iconic status before. To have him in, he didn't want to be on the Lois and Clark show. Dean Cain had insulted his version of Clark Kent as well, saying his one was better and cooler, which I think is absolutely disgraceful, disrespectful, and outrageous, by the way. But anyway, we won't get into Dean Cain and what I think of Dean Cain. But the point is, it was a massive moment for the show and for every Superman fan out there. And I cried. It was emotional. It was beautiful. But this wasn't just fan service. They found a way to give Chris a character that made him so important to Clark's journey and Clark's arc. And, you know, bless Alan Miles for doing that. Because fan service, we're going to find this out with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Fan service and trying to kind of get people to watch your product just because someone's going to be in it that they like is one thing. And you're going to see all the complaints about Tom's and Erica's role on the show when it happens. I don't know what that is, but I don't think Tom's going to suit up. That's my personal opinion. And I won't be upset with Tom if he doesn't. This is just fan service, and fan service is wrong. If you're going to bring someone in, and we wanted Chris, of course. No, fan service is, let me go back on that because I'm going to get killed. Fan service isn't wrong. But if you're going to do fan service, at least give it something. I think it's a bit like what they did with Han, Luke and Leia in the Disney trilogy, in the Disney Star Wars trilogy. It's fan service, but really their roles on those films are not, there's nothing there. It's empty. But our Miles avoided that by the understanding that Christopher Reeve, without Christopher Reeve, millions of people around the world now wouldn't love Superman, now wouldn't be watching Smallville, not now, but then, in that present, right? God, I wish Smallville was still active. But it was an amazing event, and he turned up for another episode called Legacy in season 3. Again, amazing. And if he didn't die so prematurely, he would have been in every episode of Smallville, even the final season. So that's a shame, isn't it? But we had him for 2 episodes, season 2 and season 3. And it was amazing. Season 2 had some amazing episodes. There's that episode where Lionel and Martha are held hostage at the Luthor Court Plaza, and Clark has to rescue them, and he jumps from one building. He jumps from the Daily Planet to the Luthor Court Plaza. Of course, this is iconic. When he walks out the door on the roof, and there's a shadow there, a Superman-style shadow. Look, Alan Miles I can't give these guys enough credit and enough love. Because what they gave me as a Superman fan via Smallville was absolutely beautiful. So that's a great episode. I think I spoke about the season 2 finale, iconic. Terrence Stamp's debut as the voice of Jor-El. But I think that season 3 is the one that really took a dark turn, and it was amazing. Season 3 really, I wouldn't say it's the rise of Lex Luthor, but the understanding of why Lex may become, because at that time, obviously, if you don't know who Lex Luthor is and you're just watching the show and you're enjoying the show, it's kind of fleshing out why maybe Lex will become what he's going to become. A maniac, a megalomaniac, you know, because what's done to him in season 3. I think the episode Shattered is one of the greatest episodes of television I've ever seen. And Michael Rosenbaum should have won an Emmy for it. I think he won a Saturn Award, but it's a Saturn Award, isn't it? Not that he should be happy with that. I just think it was an Emmy, at least an Emmy-nominated performance. And Michael didn't get the credit he deserved from the industry for his performance as Lex Luthor for 7 seasons. But there you have it. It was on the WB/CW, and these people look down on these shows. But Smallville was very different to other things on the CW. But anyway, Shattered is an amazing episode. So if you've never watched Smallville before and you're thinking about, through these videos, watching it, you are going to love Shattered when you get to, I think, is it episode 6 or 7 of season 3? Work it out for yourselves. but it's an amazing episode. So it really starts off where someone breaks into the Luther mansion, and Lex starts putting it together that maybe, and I can't remember if he found this out before that actually Lionel had killed his parents in a tenement fire, so he could get their money and their property or whatever Lachlan Luther owned. And obviously Lex finds this out, and Lex decides that Lionel's got to pay for this. There's not a devastated reaction, oh my God, my poor daddy's a bad man. He knows his dad's already a bad man. His dad's been messing with him for years, and he's had enough. And he finds out he killed his grandparents. So basically Lex has decided he's going to do this. The problem is Chloe recorded a conversation, and I think that's later on in the season, so we should really talk about Shattered. So basically Lionel is trying to drive Lex insane, or prove to the authorities he's insane. So what he does, he literally pays Summerholt. Is it Summerholt, or what was the insane asylum? I can't remember. Anyway, wherever they had him. Belle Reeve, that's it, Belle Reeve. So literally, he puts him in Belle Reeve by the end of the episode. He drives him crazy. He's drugging him up. So in the next episode, Shattered, which continues directly, the next episode, Asylum, which continues from Shattered, is another great episode. He wants to give him electric shock treatment to wipe his memory so he can let him out and get on with his life. He doesn't want to kill Lex, but he wants him to forget that he killed his parents. So basically, the doctors tell him, look, this could kill him. And basically, Lionel's willing to take the risk. He doesn't want Lex to die, but if he does die, that's life for him. That's who Lionel Luther was at this point. But of course, the things get muddier because in Shattered, Lex discovers Clark's secret because Clark's gets in the way of Lex getting run over. And it's actually an amazing sequence, and it's quite iconic. And so Lex still remembers this. I know your secret. And actually at the end of Shattered, Lionel sees the CCTV. But by then it's too late because he's already wiped Lex's mind. Just brilliant. But these two episodes, especially Shattered, just amazing to see the performance of Michael Rosenbaum. You know, he feels really sane sane at the beginning of the episode. And by the end of it, Lionel has convinced him by things he's doing to him that he's insane, and he starts to act insane. It really is a major episode. And really, if you're looking at Lex's arc, Shattered is a vital episode. And then we've got Memoria. Memoria is another fine episode. This is when Lex is using, this is actually directly kind of connected to Shattered and Asylum, because Lex is using Dr. Garner's Summerholt research to try and get his memories back that Lex took, what Lionel took away from him. And so he starts getting flashbacks to his childhood, and he sees that because Lionel always thought that a young Lex, a teenage Lex, actually smothered his baby brother Julian to death. But it was actually Lillian, Lex's mum. And Lex's regression hypnosis, through this kryptonite liquid, actually shows him these flashbacks. And there's a great scene at the end of Memoria between Lex and Lionel, when Lionel actually realises that Lex is telling the truth. And it was Lillian who killed the baby, right? Because she didn't want to subject the baby to his brand of parenting. Still very extreme, but obviously, I mean, I can't justify that, can I? But she was in that situation as the character. And by the way, the woman who played Lillian was always awesome, and she recurred a few times on the show as well. Brilliant. So Memoria is a fabulous episode, written by Al Miles and directed by Miles Miller. Really good job as well. I'm not sure if he directed another episode, but he certainly directed that one, and I thought he did a really, really good job. So with Memoria, with Shattered, season 3 was a really, really dark episode, a dark season, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really good. Season 4 was an interesting season because they decided, when you hear showrunners, and I love Al Miles, by the way, and this is not me getting at them, but when you hear showrunners saying, this will be a lighter season, we're lightening it up, you should worry. You should worry because you've just seen a dark and epic season. And so season 4 is a slow burn. At the beginning of the season, it's all about kind of Clark playing football, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And we've kind of been there and done that, but they kind of did it again, but he becomes a successful football player, and his parents want him to join Met U and all of that. But when they start getting into the episodes with the elements and all of that Clark got to find, which ultimately will help rise the Fortress of Solitude. So there's some good episodes. I think the one when he gets the letter and the crystal or the element from, or the disc from Dr. Swan, because this episode, and I forgot what it's called, is actually dedicated to Christopher Reeve. He had died a short time before that. I'm assuming maybe Chris would have been in this episode. So basically, Clark, Lana, Jason go to China and Lex, and there's this big adventure, and everyone's looking for the elements. It's a great episode. So I really, really did. I thought that was one of the best episodes of the season. And then you look at season 5 as well. Obviously, the best episode of season 5 is Reckoning. There's no question about that. Reckoning is absolutely amazing. And Reckoning changes Smallville forever. Reckoning is, what is it, the 100th episode of Smallville? Big celebration. It's the episode where someone's going to die, and it ends up being Jonathan Kent, but they play with us a little bit. They kill off Lana, then Clark asks Jor-El to take him back in time to save Lana, and in the end, it's Jonathan who dies. And that's something, that guilt that Clark really carries with him until the final season, when Brainiac 5 teaches him to let it go. And, you know, so that's a really, really amazing episode. Definitely the best episode of season 5, because season 5 gets so much darker after that. And Clark and Lana split up. Lex and Lana are getting it on. There's lots of things going on with Brainiac. And I wouldn't say specifically there's many classic Smallville episodes in season 5. Now, if we jump to season 6, I mean, the premiere is amazing. The finale is amazing. Promise is a really good episode. A lot of people don't like season 6 of Smallville. It's very Clark, Lana, and Lex. It's that love triangle. But obviously, Clark's looking for the Phantom. Obviously, we meet Green Arrow, Justin Hartley's Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. He's awesome. There's some amazing episodes with him in it as well. But I think Promise is a brilliant episode, because this is the big moment where Lex and Lana are going to get married. And it's an amazing episode. And they do this kind of episode through everyone's point of view. So you get Lana's point of view, you get Lex's point of view, and you get Clark's point of view. And it's done. So every time they go to the next character's point of view, they kind of do the whole thing again. It's kind of an interesting way, but it was a big episode for Smallville, and I really like Promise. So season 6, again, hasn't got many of the greatest episodes of Smallville, but actually I'm forgetting a very special episode, and I forgot what it's called. This is the episode where the Phantom infects Clark, and he wakes up in a mental asylum. And everyone around him is telling him, you were never Kal-El, you were never from the planet Krypton, you're insane, you imagine the whole thing, and now there's a procedure to make you better. So in this kind of weird world, Clark thought he had superpowers and tried to save Lex, but in fact he caused his crash, and Lex hasn't got any legs and he's on a wheelchair, and Lex isn't this big villain. Now, of course, this is just the Phantom playing tricks on Clark, but you don't know that at the time, and it's amazing. And there comes a point in this episode where you actually start to believe, maybe this guy's actually nuts. Maybe everything we believed is wrong. Now, you know that's not true, but a little bit they start convincing you, and you start thinking, where are they going with this? And again, Martian Manhunter, a better version than the Supergirl version. I don't care what anyone says. The guy was amazing, and I've told him so on Twitter. A great, I think we had amazing versions of DC characters on Smallville. It's achievement upon achievement, isn't it? And season 7 was very interesting. Season 7 obviously has some very big classic Smallville episodes. So I love the premiere. I love the episode where we see that Kara and Lara came to Earth because Lara wanted to see where baby Clark would be living when they send him to Earth. And then you meet Zor-El. That's a great episode. That's pretty awesome as well. But obviously, my favourite episode of season 7, and there's quite a few of good ones, There's The Traveller, when we meet Patricia Swan. That's an amazing episode. And when I find out that it's actually Lex that had her killed and not Lionel, and you see him there holding the blood-soaked locket, it's like you've just lost a best friend. It was so powerful, so powerful. I had to think about that episode outside after I saw it. Smoked a few cigarettes, yeah, terrible habit. And I remember how deeply that affected me, because there was no denying what Lex was by that time. But for me, one of the best episodes in the history of the show, and definitely the best episode of that season, was Descent. That was the moment. That was the moment when Lex killed Lionel, and there was no going back. It was a devastatingly, emotionally compelling episode because Lionel had left the show. He was dead. Alan Miles said, no, he's dead. There's no coming back. We saw another version of him in season 10. Great to have him back. But there's only one Lionel Luthor. And it's a bit anticlimactical when you see the other version. John plays him so well, but maybe too well, because the original Lionel, the OG Lionel, is the best Lionel. And it was just so emotional. After 7 years of Lionel manipulating people, it was the end. It was the end that he deserved, because he'd been messing with Lex for years. And ultimately, even though Lionel had become a better person, before he became a better person, the damage had already been done. Lex kills him because he wants to know where the key is, because he wants to find out where the element is to control the Traveller, aka Clark. Now, at that time, he doesn't know who the Traveller is. And let me just tell you something. The Veritas storyline that Alan Miles came up with in season 7 was freaking amazing. Ignore the phone. I shouldn't have it in here. How many more times? But yeah, so this whole Veritas storyline was amazing. Now, you'll probably notice that at the beginning of the season, we didn't have the Veritas V on the Luthor stained glass window. I don't think they'd thought about it through then, because what happened in season 7, they had a writer's strike. And I always said it about Alan Miles and the writers on the show, to come back from that writer's strike and to create the Veritas arc and be able to finish off Lionel's and Lex's storyline. Because this is the thing, because Alan Miles had decided they were going to leave. Michael, Christine, John Glover were all leaving. So Alan Miles had to squeeze all this kind of final story. But of course, what was most important here was to finish off Lex's arc properly, and to come back from a writer's strike and do that and give us 20 episodes when a season is interrupted was amazing. No one came up with more episodes in their seasons. 24 had to cancel the whole season because of the way they were structured. So Smallville did a great job, and it's just credit to Alan Miles and everyone who worked on the show, because ultimately, now a lot of people don't like season 7. I think it's a great season, considering the problems they had because of the writer's strike. And to finish off Lex's arc, and I just think Descent is amazing. And Arctic is a brilliant series finale. We talked about season finales yesterday, but I think you're never going to find a better episode of Smallville than Descent. Descent is kind of Alan Miles delivering on the promise. They never said it, but we all knew that Lex was going to kill Lionel eventually. I mean, he'd been gagging for it, asking for it, since the pilot. Let's be honest about it. So, as I say, it was a deliverance of a promise. And wow, the delivery of that final moment, that final scene, when Lex starts talking about King Arthur pulling the sword out the stone. It was so iconic, so emotional. And that final scene by at Lionel's private funeral, just for Lex, was amazing. And in the distance, if you look at that scene again, you could see a Daily Planet globe turning around. So you could see Clark's present and Clark's future. Amazing. Freaking amazing. These people were geniuses. So then you kind of hit season 8, and that's really the downturn of Smallville. Now, I've said this before. I prefer what Alan Miles did to what Kelly and Brian did on their own. But I will say this, Kelly and Brian gave us some amazing episodes. And Kelly and Brian were great contributors to the whole Smallville journey. And this is not me trying to be horrible towards them, because I love them. I just feel that Alan Miles was stronger and more able to stand up to the CW and what they wanted from Smallville. And I really don't want to go into that now. But then the final 3 seasons still had some you can handpick some great episodes. I mean, season 8 had a great premiere. The whole element of Davis Bloom being Doomsday, a kind of, I suppose, a Banner, a Jekyll and Hyde kind of character. And to do that with Doomsday was pretty awesome. And I thought Sam Witwer was absolutely amazing. We've got the Bride episode. The episode Bride, again, is one of the best episodes of Smallville. They pulled that out. That was amazing. And then we got the episode, and I forgot what it's called, when Chloe's losing her memories because Brainiac's infected her and he's taking everything from her. She is becoming Brainiac. And it's such an emotional episode. And I want to do a Smallville Saviour of Superman episode purely on Alison Mack and Chloe Sullivan because I want to talk about her both personally and about the character. But we'll do that maybe tomorrow or maybe the next day. It's episode 10 tomorrow, so such an important episode. Maybe we'll do it then. But it was so emotional having Chloe lose everything. Because one thing that's beautiful about Smallville, and it's all beautiful, was that dynamic and relationship between Chloe and Clark. From the moments they were at school, from working together, investigating stuff, and then, her being at the Daily Planet, and then them working together at Watchtower and everything. It was so beautiful. And to see her forgetting Clark, you could see that was the most devastating thing for her. And then you get an episode, and then you get another episode called Legion, straight after Bride. This is about the Legion of superheroes, right? And Jeff Johns wrote this episode, and it was his first try at writing a Smallville episode. What a great episode. What a freaking great episode. And the theme of the whole thing is Chloe's now Brainiac, the Legion want to kill Chloe, and Clark isn't having it. And this is a demonstration of why Superman's no-kill policy is so important. Amazing episode. So season 8 had a few good episodes. I think they're the best that I've just listed. Then we get to season 9, which had an amazing season premiere. It really worked for me. It was really good. You had some really good... I mean, I can't even remember off the top of the head most of the episodes. I can remember flashes of scenes and stuff, but kind of seasons 9 and 10 are the ones I've watched the least. I've watched them, obviously, at least once. But there are some great... There's that kind of episode when they're all in the future and they see that Zod's taken over the world. That's an amazing. I know that Chloe's fans love that episode. But by the way, it's quite a good episode, even if you're not a shipper. And I am not, by the way. Don't put me under that box. But if you want to be a shipper, you can. It's not up to me, is it? It's a free world. So season 9, season 9 had some great... they introduced Metallo in season 9. And Brian Austin Green was amazing. That's another DC character they pulled off. Freaking amazing. And obviously season 9, how can I forget? Nearly forgot. I said I can't remember the episodes. Absolute Justice. The 2-episode event was amazing. Jeff Johns came back to write another story. And this is about the Legion. This is not about the Legion. This is about the Justice Society of America. And Clark's investigating them. And he meets Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Hawkman was awesome. But Dr. Fate, they absolutely pulled him off, both visually and in the script by Jeff Johns. To be in a penultimate season, which they obviously knew they were in, because Warner Brothers had already given them the hard word that they wanted it to finish. But Absolute Justice, amazing. So many exciting things. Were introduced to Amanda Waller, which was amazing. She was a great Amanda Waller. So Absolute Justice, another achievement, as I say, upon achievements. And then we get to the final season. Now, season 10 is difficult. I like season 10. I just don't love season 10. There's the Luthor episode. I paused it here from watching Luthor. That's a really good episode, and that's the other version of Lionel Luthor. And he's a really interesting version, but he's not the OG Lionel. And nothing can ever beat, in my heart, the OG Lionel. I would have liked to see the OG Lionel come back. How you do it, I don't know, but they could have found a way. And actually, if they kind of forwarded Darkseid's plan earlier in the season, and Lionel maybe was Darkseid all that time, that would have been interesting. That's what I would have done, because then you wouldn't need the Darkseid special effects all the time either. That's just me. Anyway, We got John Glover back. We haven't seen him for 3 years, so it was great to have him back. But yeah, there are some really good episodes here, and obviously another achievement upon more achievements was the introduction of Connor Kent, aka Superboy. I'm losing my voice here. I've been doing this video for half an hour. I've got carried away. That's how much I love Smallville, and I'm sure you love it just as much as I am, and you've got your own opinions. Please comment down below. Ultimately, Season 10 doesn't have classic, iconic episodes of Smallville, but it has very, very interesting and exciting episodes of Smallville. I don't want to talk about the finale. I'm going to do a video about my thoughts on the finale because they are very expressive, negative and positive, and I understand the challenge of doing a Smallville finale. I understood the position that Kelly and Brian were in, the pressure that was coming from the fans, certain elements of the fans, because there was OG fans, there was Chloe's fans. It was difficult for them. Then you've got the CW. Let's make sure we make the young teenage girls happy, you know. So very, very difficult. But ultimately, what would I say my favourite episode of Smallville is and was? I mean, Homecoming is another one in Season 10. Actually, that's an awesome episode, isn't it? But what's my favourite? What's my number one? There's so many. There's so many. I'm going to go for Descent. I think Descent is everything that you didn't get. You didn't get an episode like this in Game of Thrones Season 8. I was talking about the Season 4 finale being a great series finale. Well, actually, Descent could have been added to a series finale of Smallville, and it would have worked. Lex's arc. He's finally who he is in the comics. A bit different. Ultimately, he's the Lex that we've grown to love in Smallville, but ultimately, he embraces his nature. And we see him, he's going nuts, so he's seeing a version of himself as a child. Now, that's his good side. And that's an episode, that's something we saw in an episode previously when Clark actually went into the mind of Lex Luthor. Another amazing Season 7 episode. Forgot about that one. It's like opening a tin of sweets and not realising you think you've ate all the good ones, but there's still more underneath. And that's what Smallville was. Full of so many delights. It really was so beautiful. And basically, Descent had everything. So as he's seeing this young boy is his good side. And in the end, he gets his good side and he puts him in the fireplace and burns him. It's so symbolic. It's so amazing. So Descent is my favourite episode of Smallville of all time. And do you know what I'd love? I'd love to hear about yours, genuinely. So please comment down below, Smallville fans, and let me know what your favourite ever episode of Smallville is.